Hello, and welcome to Curious Conversations. We are your hosts, Carly and Mandy, and today we're talking about Natalia Grace.
Yeah, so this was definitely a perfect fit for us to discuss because we first heard about this case. What was it on the ID series? It was the Curious Case of Natalia Grace. It's like all
Yes.
rhyming. And that aired in 2023.
Yep. Yeah, and it really got our attention. One, we've got Curious Case, so it just
Right.
really spoke to us.
Yeah.
But it was followed up not too long ago with the Curious Case of Natalia Grace, Natalia Speaks. And I was like,
Yeah.
we got to watch it. We're in.
Yeah, and the whole curious bit lived up to its name, right?
It sure did.
So weird, interesting, just, pulled us both in. And that last one ended in a weird way, like I was not expecting. I thought, okay, we're closing up. And then this end was like, wait, what? I got to see the next one, right? So we
Yes.
watched it. And here we are to share our thoughts about that because it's not what I thought either.
No. There honestly was just so much to share.
Yeah.
We thought about doing one right after the first, and there was so much packed into it
Mhm.
that we couldn't even get our own thoughts straight before it was, oh, there's another one coming out. So we thought, well, let's just wait. So we'll start at the beginning.
Yep.
We know that Natalia was born in Ukraine. So she does have, I'm going to try to pronounce her disorder.
I'm going to let you do that.
She has a rare genetic disorder. Here we go. Spondylopiphyseal dysplasia congenita.
That. Hey, I think you nailed that. Like that was good. That was better than I would have done. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's there's the really sad aspect to this. There's a really curious and weird aspect, and it's just all over the place. But you got that word, I'm pretty sure.
I think there's somebody in the medical profession listening going, oh my gosh. So we know that, this was definitely, its physical stature is definitely affected. So Natalia is more kind of like a little person. The way she grows, it's very different, and it's very obvious. As soon as she was born, she was placed with an orphanage. Her mother did give her up. She was then adopted by Christine and Michael Barnett, and that was in 2010. The couple later claimed that Natalia was actually an adult posing as a child.
Did that blow your mind? Like, what in the world?
Yeah, I had to go back and watch some videos of her to go, is that a child or is that an adult?
I know you're like fine tuning to see, like you're watching and listening for every little thing because that was put in your ear, or this idea was thrown at you because okay, I got a couple of questions. Did you think that had they not said that? Did this just look like a child to you?
Yeah, I don't think it would have occurred to me. Oh, that might be an adult. I think her characteristics, her mannerisms, they looked like a handicapped child to me.
Yeah. Well, but so did you see that movie Orphan? Like it's
No.
been a while back. Orphan. Okay. So
is it a scary one?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be, I guess it's more of a thriller. And so this couple adopts a child, and as time goes on, this is almost like not a Chucky type child, but this is like a bad girl kind of kid. And then she starts like making these moves on the husband, the dad, and it's like all creepy, and you think, what the heck's going on? And then it comes out that she's not really a child. She's just small, and she has been deceiving these people. Well, this has been a while back. So when this came out, people were saying, hey, I think that's what that was about. Um, Very disturbing idea, that this could be what's going on. Could you imagine you adopt a child and you've been deceived, never would have considered that it was a woman?
And I think, with it being overseas,
Hmm.
there's a lot of miscommunication. The way that things are handled, paperwork is handled,
Right.
would be vastly different. So that's not an impossibility. If an orphanage just kind of keeps quiet, they need to get rid of one of their patients. I don't know. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Or they've been misled. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Weird.
Well, then as it goes on, you start to see some things where you're like, "Oh, I can see it. I see something adult in her." Um, and you start to wonder, maybe I was wrong the whole time. Maybe that is actually a thing. My gosh, that's crazy. We know that Natalia's mother was identified. Um, she's got one of those names. I don't know.
I know.
It's
I'm so glad you're covering these. I'm glad you've got the heavy stuff. I'm just gonna listen, see what you got.
okay. Here we go again. Um, Anna Volodymyrivna Gova.
I think that's it. It's very like it's a very melodic name. The way you say it. It's just so nice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know I'm butchering it. I know I am.
It's okay. You
Uh,
just don't have that. You don't have the accent with it. You can work on that, like in your spare time.
I can't roll my tongue. It's
Oh,
just,
I have no tongue rolling. It's just all fa flat, Georgian. That's all I have.
yes, we speak Georgian. Forgive us. But mom was born in 1979.
Mhm.
So DNA testing confirmed that was Natalia's biological mother. Um, so, I mean, then you have to start kind of looking at the dates of if Natalia's court assigned birth date of 1989, if that were correct,
Mhm.
and mom was born in 79, that means mom gave birth to Natalia at age 10. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that's crazy. And it just got weirder. Like how weird was that dad? The adoptive parents. He needed his own show. He wanted his own show so bad. He wanted this to be his show. He tried.
Yes. Yes, he did. It was
Oh gosh.
entertaining.
Yeah, he was entertaining. Like he was his own thing. There were several things that could have been their own thing, just their
Yeah.
own show, own story. But so the Ronettes, they alleged that Natalia was violent and mentally ill. Like they just flipped the switch when the mom was like, "Oh my gosh, I think this is an adult woman." She just got that ball rolling, and it was suddenly like, "Oh, she's crazy. She's wild. We have no control over her, and she's gonna do something to us." And so they they switched gears. They changed the way they were handling everything with having her as their child, and they even legally changed her name. I mean, her age, which this blew my mind. From 7 to 22 years old. Did you know that was a thing that anybody could like change your age, change your birth date?
No, that is a huge jump. That's big. We're not saying, oh, we might be a couple of years off. We're
Right.
talking a child that cannot handle life on their own to an adult that should be pretty fully functioning. That it was such a big
Yeah. 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 It was, I mean, we're talking about elementary school to drinking age. So that is crazy. Um, this led to a series of legal battles and public scrutiny, and people were back and forth. What's going on? But I cannot believe the courts like were even listening to this. Like, how could you do this? Because you're like, well, she seems older to me. She seems older.
yeah.
Anyway, I tell you, she's consistently maintained that she is a child, that she was a child at that time and was mistreated by these adoptive parents. So you've got them saying, "Oh no, she's crazy. She's going to kill us. She's an adult. All these things," and then she's like, "No, I was a helpless child." which is scary. It's like weird enough to begin with that she might be an adult, but then to think of what they are doing and what that would mean. So that means she could just be on her own. She's just, that blew my mind.
Yeah. So the whole thing, it made me really sad, because
Mhm.
you would and conflicted. I would
Mhm.
look at
Right.
Natalia and think, oh my gosh, this child looks so lost and confused.
Yes.
But then you would hear the Barnetts talk about how awful she was and she was going to kill them in their sleep. And you think, well, that's kind of psycho. If that's a little adult
Right.
walking around, pretending to be a child, you just were like back and forth on the matter.
Oh yeah. It was either scary or sad. And I
Yeah.
will say, I felt like they kept playing with my mind, which I'm sure was the intention. But when it would show her out on her own or being treated like she were grown, she still didn't respond like I think a child would respond. And so that was like playing with me. Is that okay? So is that not a child? There were enough, there were weird things about her demeanor. There were peculiar things, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. It was, I felt like she did not act like a 7-year-old child. She acted older, but she also didn't have the comprehension or I mean, she just didn't have the mannerisms of a 22-year-old either. There's still some childlike characteristics there. It it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Well,
It really was. And so the fact that it was all weird and there were so many things going on that were conflicting, I mean, you start hearing these other stories. So what do you think about like the neighbor? I mean, the neighbor said she would just pop up and there was, because basically they put her in an apartment on her own and kind of left her there.
they did. They did. And that was shocking. Christine set Natalia up with another little person,
Yeah, how about
a,
that?
a
Yeah,
grown man. And that man was, he did say, I recognized her as a child. I did not
right.
touch her because the way she spoke, the way she acted, it was very childlike. He said, I don't believe that she's an adult.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
so scary.
Uh, she pepper sprayed Natalia. Christine did. It was
Yeah,
a form of punishment. Like who does that to a child or an adult that you're just mad at? And not ever, I'm fearful for my life. It was crazy things. She just made her mad. She
yeah,
wanted Natalia to admit that she was an adult.
yes,
So she would put Natalia against a wall with her nose to the wall, and she would make her stand there, not being able to use the bathroom, not getting food. And she would say, you can get off as soon as you tell me you're an adult. And Natalia was like, well, but I'm not. I'm a kid. I don't think she even understood survival skills at that point. She was like, I don't know what to do. But Michael would come in from work and he would see all of these things. He did nothing because he was, his quote, scared of his wife. What?
yeah. There was a lot of things going on there, and I felt for Natalia, but it felt weird to me too when I think about children I've been around and their response to things like that. Sometimes, if it's if it's a parent or just an adult figure, they'll just go along. They think they don't have a choice. But
Right.
some will like speak out or they'll respond. Well, if they're saying that she was so violent, why would she have stood there and took that? She would have like flew into him and done what she could do. That didn't make any sense. She's scary, but I've got her nose to the wall.
That's it right there. I didn't even think of that. Like
Yeah,
she stood there. I mean, she would just cry. I
yeah,
mean, she's just with her face against the wall being taunted.
mhm,
So where's that violence now? I didn't even
yeah,
think of that.
yeah, yeah. It did nothing made any sense. So I just in the beginning I thought, oh, they're good people. They've adopted this person. And then I thought, oh no, look what they've got themselves into. And then I thought, just really can't stand what you're doing. Like you're not you're not good people. You're
Nope.
faking.
Okay, so let's talk about that apartment.
Yep.
They have her age changed and they get her an apartment. That's crazy to me. That
Yeah,
is
as I
insane.
was yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, so they've either pushed her away or they have abused a child. They've
Mhm.
pushed somebody away that they've brought here, they've taken on as their responsibility, who is disabled, who is not able to even reach the things she needs to reach. To this is not set up for her, to
Right.
be accommodating. It's just like, we'll put you here and kind of forget about you, and every once in a while we'll bring you some fruit or something. It was very, very abusive if that was a child. If it was
Mhm.
not a child, it just meant that we said good luck. And with the type of disability she had, it was almost like a child. So at that time, I'm thinking, well, which is it? What's going on here? I mean, it really led you to have that conflicting feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So you either have a 7-year-old child that is now living in her own apartment. She can't reach things. She doesn't know how to make food. I do know, there were some complaints from neighbors that she just didn't change clothes. I mean,
Mhm.
she didn't bathe. Um, or you have a 22-year-old handicapped person in an apartment that's been dropped off in a different country that doesn't understand, she doesn't have those basic skills it takes to make it on her own anyway. What is the law? Where does that, I mean, you can't drop off a handicapped person, even if your heart isn't good enough to want to help, you know, legally. Surely you can't just be like, meh, we don't want to deal with you anymore, but we got you a nice apartment. The family moved to Canada.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah, just peace.
Now we can't help you at all. We're gone. Good
Yeah.
luck. Good luck, crazy person. Uh yeah, and the neighbor would so then you're getting that feeling like, well, bless her heart. And then the neighbor is like, no, you don't know. She was scary. She would just show up in my house. And well, if you're thinking of it, if you're thinking of this as a woman that just wanders over, no, that's like a child. Can you feed me? Can you make me a sandwich? Something like that. There's but I will say, I have to interject that whether child or adult, there were some peculiarities,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
which could have came from trauma, but there were some things that didn't. I guess that sort of made you have that glue of okay, maybe something is up here
Mhm.
because there were peculiar ways about Natalia.
Yeah, I mean, you think, I think we've all had the child in the neighborhood that, they probably need a little extra attention, they need a little extra grace. They're always knocking on the door, and it's as soon as you get home, they're wanting to run over and talk, and you're like, just want to get in the house with my groceries.
Yeah.
But when it's a child, I mean, that's a kid. But if you think that might be a grown adult that's just walking in my house without knocking, it's acceptable as a child, but not as an adult.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of strange behavior, and neighbors were like, we don't know if she's a nuisance or if she's terribly abused, but one of them is the case.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
So let's talk about the next chapter in her life. So they take off to Canada.
they take off to Canada. Um, uh, do you know anything about their son? They have a child, Jacob Barnett.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's another peculiar thing. Too many
yeah,
peculiar things.
yeah, that's a whole thing. He's a child prodigy, higher IQ than Einstein. He gave a TED talk as a teenager. Um, Mom wrote a book about raising him. I mean, it was very like, look, I raised this genius child.
Mhm.
Very like, ew. Like, I don't
Yes,
know. It just felt like she was trying to capitalize off of, just get a little attention off of having a child that was extremely smart. It was weird. The whole thing was weird.
it was
But
weird.
he spoke out a little bit about Natalia's time in their home. Um, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting. I think mom was manipulating him as well. And he didn't like Natalia. And after the fact, he had a lot of guilt about the way he treated her because mom had manipulated the entire situation.
Yeah, she messed up like everybody she came in contact with. She had some serious stuff, and
Yeah.
I felt sorry for him. Like just the bits I know about him. It is crazy the intelligence level there, and there, like I said, there's just so many segments of this story, and you couldn't help but wonder, did the mom just really feed off of anything that she could prop up here? Like, look at what I have. So you've got the son, and then now you've got, oh, and I adopted this disabled child from another country, and look how great I am. I mean, you don't know somebody's heart, but it certainly came across that way.
Right.
Yeah, so they just I think there was a lot of manipulation, and I think he did feel weird. It's weird when you kind of come to the realization of something. You're like, oh, maybe it wasn't the way that my parents spun this.
Exactly. Yeah. As an adult, as he's thinking more on his own, he's thinking, "Oh, I didn't have what it took to rationally think through the entire situation, and I acted out in a way that probably wasn't the nicest." So he has some
Yeah, and I
guilt.
think he probably felt some relief then when they did move away. But didn't he
Yeah.
think, hey, this is weird? We're just leaving her?
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
They got out of there. So who
So they're
stepped up?
gone.
They're gone. They're gone.
Let's talk about the DePauls.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this
More
is a new
weirdos.
family. Yes. So this is Nicole and Vince DePaul.
Uh-huh.
They're little people. They have a daughter that is a little person, and they have a house that was built specifically for them. It just seemed like such a great fit,
Hmm.
like a beautiful fit for Natalia. So she comes in. She spent some time there. I don't know
Hmm.
how much time, but she did spend some time with the family. Um, it just seemed like a perfect,
Seemed
beautiful
good.
setup. Seemed.
Yeah.
Seemed
Except,
great.
yeah, I mean, they're not, when I say more weird, I just think it's weird, but not necessarily like evil weird, like not dark weird. But there's some stuff there too.
They're strange. They're different, you know. They just have their own way about them,
Uh-huh.
and Nicole has like the mouth of a sailor. That was shocking to
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
She just looks so cute and pretty, and then she's like, blah.
Yes.
But yeah, just they're different. But I feel like they were really good for Natalia. And Natalia felt at home there. She felt like, their daughter was a sister. She had someone that she could connect with, that, they understood her, they understood her disability and what she was going through. They wanted to get her help. There were, some surgeries that could help Natalia's condition. But somewhere along the adoption process, that just fell through.
Yeah.
Something went wrong.
Well, and I guess one of my things, and maybe a lot of people were watching said, I don't know, these people are perfect. I guess the weirdness to me was there was still a drive there that was almost like, I don't want to say an obsession with Natalia, but they had a child. And I know you adopt a child, then you've got a special circumstance. You've got a child that's disabled, so you're trying to help them. You feel like they don't have the same kind of things, but their own child was kind of struggling with that, and I just felt like it became such a drive, and so the emotion that showed so much about doing this almost seemed like yet again Natalia was kind of a novelty. Like, here's somebody I can fix, I can save. Nobody's doing it for her. It's all up to me. And then you get this complex, in my opinion, that goes beyond just being a nice person. Did you see it that way, or am I just pessimistic?
No, I did see it that way. It felt
Mhm.
almost like there was so much love and care, on the front end of it. And oh, we're gonna swoop up this helpless baby, and we're gonna do all these things because we're so good. And I'm talking about everyone that came into contact
Yeah.
with Natalia, not just the DePauls, but there was like a little bit of that. But then when it went, the cameras were off, and you're doing the everyday, day to day stuff.
Mhm.
it's not as exciting.
Mhm.
I mean, and that's life is like that. You find something and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be so great," but really, there's some day to day, like mundane stuff that's not as exciting.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start to struggle with those things, and you've got to weigh out, well, is the exciting worth it or not? But we're talking about a child. This is someone that you're supposed to be taking into your home and nurturing and caring for. So you don't have that choice of, well, does it even out, or no, that's now your child, that's your baby, so you
Mhm.
got to take the mundane and the crappy day to day and the issues and the troubles with it. I felt like the DePauls were probably the best family to do that,
Yeah.
and so when that fell through, it was really sad. It was like, well, what's going to happen now? And we know what happened, and it was not good.
Yeah. It was not good. And
No,
that
so
there enters the more crazy maybe. I don't know. Everybody's a
um,
little twisted in this story.
yeah, this one really threw me. So then all of a sudden we have a family called the Mans. This is Antoine and Cynthia Mans. Natalia was with them for 10 years. So that's a long
Yeah,
time.
that was surprising to me. But the introduction of them came at the end of the second season.
Yep.
And it was like they literally picked her up off the street kind of thing. Like they saw her struggling and it's like, oh heck no. You're not gonna struggle. I can fix you. Once again, somebody's gonna fix her life. Somebody's gonna, come in, swoop her up, and take care of everything. It's not that simple.
No, and I was really hopeful. At the end
Yeah,
of the season, I thought the Mans, that's it. And I think that producers thought the Mans, oh, that's it. She's good to
yeah.
go from here on out. It just seemed like such a beautiful story that all we have to do is put a little bow on it and we're done. It's so great. Antoine was, what was he? Not a pastor. Was he a bishop?
Oh, hold on, because they went through this whole thing. He had to explain exactly what he was. Uh,
Yes. He wasn't even called by Antoine. It was
yeah.
called his official name. That's what people called him, and he liked it
Oh,
that way.
I've blanked out. Is
Me
it
too.
Apostle? No,
Maybe.
maybe, but it was a
I
title
don't
in
know.
that vein. Yeah,
It was
and
something strange. It was
yeah,
strange.
a little
And
fanatical.
yeah, it felt a little self-absorbed. I
Hmm.
don't know. So that was weird to me. That was a big turnoff for me, was, well, that's different. But they had a bunch of kids
Yeah,
in
how
in
many
their
kids do they
home.
already have? It's like 7 or
And
1,100. I don't know.
they had a ton of kids that they
Yeah,
were helping, and I thought, okay, well, maybe they just have a heart. There are people who can foster kids all the time and have them in and out of the house, and that's like a heart of gold you have to have. It would be a little
yeah,
overwhelming. And so just to find people that are out there like that, it's like, okay, you are changing the world. Keep doing what you're doing. So you just kind of you overlook some of the negative, like the weird title. Her demeanor was weird to me. It was a little
Ugh,
uh
yuck. Was it a little yuck?
it was a turn off. It was kind
Yes,
of
I had trouble watching her. I thought she was somebody who was very, came across very arrogant, but playing like she's very down to earth. And I'm just, um, I don't know. They were something else. I felt like it was just the next step in another set of martyrs. Like we can't. Uh, I don't know. They were
yes.
very different. Very different.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Hmm.
That's a great way to put it. Well, we did find out in Natalia Speaks that things weren't exactly as they had been presented. Um, First of all, they had all of Natalia's money went straight to them. And, some of it went into their ministry, some of it went into their household. And then supposedly there was some that was saved for Natalia. uh, she never saw that. Never. Um, the man's they bought a new house with her Netflix
Her.
money. Yeah, yeah. It was kind
Yeah.
of like they were parading her, making a little bit of money, and then they would spend it. Um, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, in the end, it felt like they were that stereotypical thing of people using the system, abusing the system. And I thought that was really sad. And the money that was allotted for her that was supposed to go directly towards her, I'm sure they would have argued, well, this is housing her. But yeah, I didn't like how that went down. And they tried to play at that one point like, oh no, she's gonna get out of here. She's going crazy. And I felt like they exploited that. The show itself kind of exploited that and made you think, oh, this is where it's going. And it was just kind of like clickbait kind of feel. Like, stay tuned.
That's exactly it. I felt just, yeah, it was clickbait the whole time. You feel like you're being jerked over here and then you're over here and you don't even know how you feel anymore. I feel that way a lot with Netflix documentaries. They
Yes.
stage them. They stage them really well. And I definitely felt that, but by the end you just have such a distaste for the man's. And then here come knight in shining armor, the
Yeah.
DuPauls again.
Like, and I felt good then. I was like, okay, this is where she was supposed to be to begin with. Even if they kind of were like, we're gonna fix this and all that. I did feel like, okay, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, get her out of that situation. I mean, I will say the man's bought a new house and Natalia needed surgery. So, I mean, her best interest was not at heart there. They turned on her very quickly. It was, and then they just talked about our money. Well, are we still going to take care of your money?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was so distasteful. I don't know. But the DePauls come in. They they kidnapped Natalia. They
Yeah.
took her from church one night. They
Was that
literally like
crazy?
that
That
was
was
so
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. And then, at the time I was like, yes, because I felt like even though they had been weird about some stuff, I thought uh they've got her best interest at heart. And they're the most normal. But the husband didn't want to do it. And I thought, oh, that's not probably the best idea.
Yeah, I was very concerned for the DePaul's marriage for a minute
Yeah.
because it was, I mean, mom just got fixated on, and I think mom has
That's
a
it.
good heart, and
Hmm.
she was engrossed in it. That was her everything, and she was dead set on I'm getting Natalia and I'm helping her. And I think that was a great thing, but dad was so like, whoa, we're getting into too much stuff, and they weren't on the same page. I think they both had good intentions, but they weren't together on it. I was concerned for that.
I was too, and that was um that hyper focus that she had on I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna solve this, come hell or high water kind of thing, and risk her other child, risk her husband, all that was what put out the weird factor to me. Like, why was she so intense about this? But maybe it was she had some kind of drive that was necessary for things to turn out okay in the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a drive. And it worked out because
Mhm.
Natalia did come to live with them. And there was a lot of tension between the couple and just the family in general. I think that Natalia had some issues, attachment issues with the man's that she needed to work through and start to break off. But in the end, she's still with the DePaul's family
Yeah. It,
and
it
thriving.
it worked out. And, I had two thoughts going on. I was for the story, I was really glad for the true story. I was glad that it worked out the way that it did. I
Sure.
felt a little bit played by the show itself with the series. I thought, guys, you're milking this now. This could have been wrapped up already. You wanted us to do the highs and the lows, and you told the story in like 1.5 episodes. You just could have added this in, and in the end, it turned out good. You wanted to do
Yes.
that. And so I did feel like the last season was a lot of filler and fluff. and sort of hollow in some ways. And then I didn't like that they played the sort of reality, like early on reality shows of um, like dramatizing things. It was an intense story on its own. If you would have just, read about it, it was an intense story. It didn't need like, and what's going to happen now? I didn't care for that.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I could just eat up documentaries all the
Yeah.
time. The last 2 nights I've stayed up way, way too late watching these series. But it always ends up that I could retell that same story in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
was definitely that the Natalia speaks. It felt empty. It felt like, but I have a theory about that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear it?
Okay.
The man's really, they took all of Natalia's money from everything she had done. Uh, but she's left. I mean, she needs to start her life as an adult. She has surgeries that she needs. Maybe that was just a roundabout way of let's drag this out a little bit further. Let's get Natalia another step up, because now the mans don't control her money. She controls her money. And now she's got like a little bit of a new start. I know she was on a morning show, Today Show
Yeah.
or something. So I don't know if you get paid for stuff like that or not. But, at least just having her face out there. I think some of these things, whether it was intentional or not, is helping because it's getting her some money and she can start her life and finally try to move on.
Well, maybe you're right. I just felt like they even, I guess I would have said, with the third series, okay, do you see now that she's grown, that she was not grown all along? It's like they put the focus on something else, and it almost just seemed like the spats between the other adults on, I want her, no, I want her, I deserve her, I should get the money. It felt like the whole third season was about the push and pull between, this power issue. And I wanted them to like come right out and say, do you see she's an adult? Because she wasn't an adult, because the look is dramatic. She's obviously a woman now.
That's it right there. So
Yeah.
I did want to ask you that. When I first started watching and you see little bitty Natalia,
Hmm.
you think, oh, is that a child? Is that an adult?
Hmm.
Now that we see her as an adult, you can like look back at those pictures of her as a child and go, there
You're like,
is,
oh, good.
yeah, no adult in that at all. She
Mm.
was absolutely a child.
Yeah, I think they played us. I think they played all of us.
They played us hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, she's certainly been through a lot of trauma, even with all this. And there, it alluded to maybe some other trauma from her early years. She's been through the ringer. I feel so bad for what all she's been through. And do you think she presents pretty well?
I think she does.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, yeah, she presents well. She's a pretty lady.
Yeah,
She's got herself all together. Yeah, I'm really impressed with her,
I
and I
do.
think she's probably worked through more things in therapy than 10 of us combined. I mean, just I'm
Right.
amazed.
There's people who one thing happens in their life and they never really recover. And she's just been put through everything. That's always something curious to me. Like, why do some people end up thriving and conquering, and some people it just washes them out and they never really become anything? I think that's very weird. Like the Gypsy Rose story, like that was like, how could she have it together and just live normal? What? How? I don't know.
Yep.
They're amazing stories. Um, and I was happy for her, but I felt like we were drug all over the place for this story. Just tell me the happy ending. Tell me the strange stuff, and then the happy ending. That's all I need.
It was definitely a story of resilience,
Yeah,
100%. Like, just shocking resilience in a human being. It was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, it's not over
No,
entirely.
I know.
So now we know there's a Hulu limited series that's coming
Yeah.
out, and it's called Good American Family. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so it's got Ellen Pompeo from Grace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's really going to portray more. That is the original family, the Barnetts.
Yes.
Who's playing? Do you know who's playing the dad? Because that's going to be
I
tough.
don't. That's tough. I'm interested to see that though, because like we know the dad, but yeah, I'm interested to see who plays that much kooky because I was very entertained by the dad.
I
Like
was too.
it was a little bit Tiger King-ish.
That's it right there. I love that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you cannot look away.
No, no. I was like, what's he's gonna roll on the floor and beat his fist and cry? I don't know what he's gonna do next. Wacky, wacky. Yeah, so we've got to watch that. And then that's what, March 19th, I think, sometime mid
March
March.
19th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Coming up.
check it out.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Oh my gosh. So be sure to join us next week for the next Curious Conversation.
Yeah, and if you love our podcast, be sure to subscribe. We want you to share it with a friend. If you have something curious that you'd like to share, or maybe you have an idea for an upcoming episode, we would love for you to send us an email at ourcuriouspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. See you next week.